Welcome to the channel and welcome to today's run through of all the latest Manchester United news and transfer updates, keeping you right up to date with everything. My name's Jamie. Before we get into it, smash a like on the video, subscribe to the channel if you're new. Let's jump straight into it. So obviously a lot of noise over the last couple of days has been, Ruben Amorim and the question marks regarding him. So there's been a couple of updates regarding his potential future, where effectively he's been backed by the club as well. So firstly, Sully Talk said that Ruben Amorim will stay regardless of the Europa League final and will be backed this window. Next season will be all or nothing, though, for him. Now, Sully Talks is quite a credible source recently regarding, injury news, team news, and updates and stuff going on behind the scenes as well. So one to pay attention to. Originally kind of coming out saying that Amorim will stay regardless of the Europa League final and will be back to this transfer window as well. And that's the kind of key, isn't it? He needs back in. Like, we need better players, regardless of who the manager is. I don't think you could bring any manager in right now that could get a tune out of this squad. So we need recruitment. So regardless of who the manager is, we need to get the recruitment right this summer. But then David Ornstein's also come out confirming it as well, saying changing the coach is the last thing on United's agenda. United's priority is to try to provide Ruben Amorim with players who will allow him to play the style he wants to implement. And that's, again, from David Ornstein. So I think David Ornstein is the most reliable journalist around. He's got really good, obviously, inside information and connections as well. Also saying the same thing, that changing the manager is not on United's agenda. What's on United's agenda is actually backing Ruben Amorim and getting him the players that he needs and that he wants as well. And not just him. I think the club are coming away from signing players for a manager under Ineos, but they're going to recruit the right profile of players that will hopefully improve the team and improve the quality in the team as well. And that's what it's all about. So it's all very well backing the manager, but, you've got to do it in the transfer market. That's the kind of way. We need better profile players. We need better quality players throughout the team as well. I think there's multiple positions that you could all argue for, and we'll all have different opinions on priorities as well. But from the goalkeeper to the striker, everywhere needs kind of reinforcements at some kind of stage, in my opinion. So it is a massive job, but that's the kind of main thing, is we need to have that rebuild. We need to have that kind of squad overhaul. In my opinion. And then Jamie Jackson from The Guardian pretty much said the same thing. So that sounds like it's some kind of brief, or, somebody's kind of put this out to a few journalists out there as well, saying that Manchester United intend to retain Ruben Amorim as head coach next season, even if they lose the Europa League final to Tottenham. The club have endured a horrible league campaign. To say the least. But the hierarchy feels the Portuguese deserves this summer transfer window to improve the squad and sign players better suited to his tactics. And again, that's the kind of key, because there's no point keeping a manager or keeping Ruben Amorim if you're not going to support him in the transfer market. But again, I don't think any manager coming in right now could make a tune out of this squad, because it is just an absolute mess of, different profile of players that just don't really suit any particular style of play or tactics, apart from probably parking the bus and counter-attacking football. I think that's the only kind of tactic or formation, or whatever you kind of call it, would actually suit the profile of players. And who wants to keep watching that? I don't, personally, but give us your thoughts on that in the comments below. Now, but again, the key is from that, he needs to be back. We need better players, regardless of who the manager is. It's all about the recruitment this summer, because if we don't get that right, going to be a long season next season, in my opinion. But Samuel Lucker said that Manchester United are targeting a top 6 finish in the Premier League next season. Give us your thoughts on that. Do you think that's kind of realistic expectations from where we are currently? Obviously, effectively one of the fourth worst team in the Premier League with our league position at the moment. Do you think it's kind of, do you think that's acceptable to target a top 6 finish next season? Do you think it's possible? I think with the right recruitment, it's doable, because I kind of think that there's been certain games this season. Like, how many games this season, right, have we lost that we should have won, but couldn't put the ball in the back of the net? Like, I can think of countless games actually where we've created enough chances to win a game, but we haven't put them away, and then we've conceded with a mistake at the back, and then we've ended up losing that game. Like, Nottingham Forest springs to mind straight away as a game that we should have won, because I thought we were better than Forest on the day. But Andrew Onana makes 2 mistakes, or we make 3 mistakes and can see 3 goals, lose the game. I think there's been a few games recently where we've been by far the better team, like Wolves. We should have beaten Wolves. I think we have some goal scorers on the pitch. We would have comfortably beaten Wolves. So I think that actually there's a few points in the team just by getting and improving the kind of goal scorers and stuff. Whether it will be good enough to go for top 6, especially considering that other teams are going to strengthen as well, because there is a gulf in quality at the moment between the top 6 in the Premier League and us. It's completely different shades of grey, total golf in quality, I think. But with the right recruitment, I think it's probably plausible. And if you remember, there was a report from The Athletic before that they're saying that United were looking to budget for Europa League football going forward, because that's the minimum kind of that they expect is a minimum Europa League football. Because one of the problems with in the report, it was saying one of the issues with United financially is that we've been spending Champions League money on Europa League, kind of like we've been spending money as if we're in the Champions League, but on a Europa League budget. And that's why we're running out of cash and why we're in such a financial mess, is basically we've been spending more than what our kind of performances and league positions have kind of suggested. So yeah, top 6, do you think that's plausible? I think with the right recruitment, you've got to get the right players in. Like, this team's not going to finish in the top 6 next season. In my opinion, I don't think any manager can get a tune out of some of the players that we've got within the squad. So you need to get that recruitment right. The only way you're going to get into the top 6 is you've got to get better players in the team. And if we don't get better players in the team, then it's going to be a long season next season as well. But hopefully, if they're putting that kind of pressure, if their ambition is to get in the top 6, where you need to go out and buy players that are befitting of a team that should be in the top 6 in the Premier League as well, in my opinion. But give us your thoughts on that in the comments below, and regarding the Amorim situation. Now, obviously, on recruitment, just mentioned there, it's no point saying all of these things if we do not get the recruitment right. So let's go through all the transfer news. So just going back to Jamie Jackson's report, he said that Ruben Amorim has targeted Matheus Cunha and Liam Delap as key players in his rebuild. United, however, have to raise funds by selling players to sign the duo. Cunha has a 62.5 million release clause and Delap is at 30 million. So Jamie Jackson stating the obvious. We've known that for weeks, that Cunha and Delap are our preferred options. Interestingly, though, Jamie Jackson suggested that we would need to sell players in order to buy the duo, because, Romano, Ornstein, Laurie Whitwell, people like this who I think are more credible than Jamie Jackson. Not that Jamie Jackson's not credible, he's a decent source when it comes to United news. He's at the press conferences and stuff, so he is actually fairly reliable. Is the one going against that kind of narrative that we need to sell players to buy these two, because Ornstein, Laurie Whitwell and Romano, the 3 best, I think, in my opinion, for United kind of news. We're saying that we've got the budget to get those 2 anyway. And then if we want any additional players in the squad, we're going to have to sell to buy. And that's what I kind of tip in. I believe Ornstein and Laurie Whitwell above Jamie Jackson on that one as well. But yeah, I thought it was an interesting one to say that they see him as key targets, but we know that anyway. They're the top 2 players that we're looking for to improve the attack as well. Sticking with Liam Delap, though, there was some reports yesterday from Ben Jacobs and TalkSport, I think it was, and Graham Bailey, hit and miss journalist, in my opinion, saying the same thing as what Nath Solt said. And Nath Solt's actually a decent source, saying that Manchester United are now the front runners to sign Liam Delap again. So when you get these sort of judges all saying the same thing, again, that feels like some kind of brief, maybe from the agent. I don't think the club would put that kind of news out there as well, but maybe something from the agent or the player side saying that they're the front runners, potentially as well. So a few more, but Nath Solt is probably more credible than the stories that I brought you yesterday regarding that. In my opinion, is again saying that maybe Liam Delap might prefer to come to us, but the stories might depend on whether we win the Europa League or not. But yeah, give us your thoughts and feelings on that in the comments. I'm sure you will. Now, the other player that we've been heavily linked with, as we know, is Matheus Cunha. So the latest there, now this came from a South American journalist that works for Goal Brazil. It's been reposted online. I do not know the credibility personally myself. However, they're reporting that Manchester United deal for Matheus Cunha expected to reach £67 million, so the £62 million clause plus £5 million in extras, despite Arsenal's late approach. Talks with Wolves forward keep moving forward. Verbal agreement close. Final steps on personal terms underway. So that's interesting because obviously the reports were that Arsenal were in talks with his agent, and then potentially Newcastle have been linked as well. But according to that South American journalist who does work for Go Brazil, who are a decent source as well, but I don't know the credibility. I would want to wait and see a bit more credibility from like a Romano, who seems to be all over this sort of deal and bits like that at the moment, before getting too excited around it as well. But according to reports from Brazil, or Brazilian journalists, the deal for Matheus Cunha is expected to reach £67 million, verbal agreement close, final steps on personal terms underway as well. So he is obviously believed to be the main kind of person we're looking to get done early. We've got the funds. Whether or not that we're going to pay that extra $5 million as a way to do an installment payment for his release clause in a similar way to what we did with Joshua Zirkzee, we'll have to wait and see. I would want to see a little bit more credibility personally as well, but that's really kind of interesting. It's the latest kind of reports coming out regarding us and Matheus Cunha as well. So we need to see how that story develops. I will keep my eye on it for you as well. But it is believed that Matheus Cunha is going to be, the potentially coming to United, which I'm massively excited about as well. I think if you did, we do improve the attack by getting Cunha. He's a fantastic player. Fits the system, fits the profile of what we're looking for as well. We'll massively improve the attack as well. And if you get Matheus Cunha and Liam Delap, I'm cool with that, because you've got someone of the right kind of age and experience in Matheus Cunha. And yes, Delap's a younger kind of striker and a little bit more inexperienced. But if you've got an experienced player to play behind him that's also sharing the goal-scoring burden, then I'm kind of cool with that as well. But obviously, we need to see how the reports develop. Like I said, I would like to see a little bit more credibility, like a Romano or an Ornstein or someone like that coming out saying it as well. But according to that report, £67 million for Matheus Cunha, but then also verbal agreement close, final steps on personal terms underway, because obviously once we know we get the personal terms agreed, it's pretty straightforward to do the deal then with Wolves, because they're happy to accept installments. But whether or not we're going to pay that $5 million extra in order to be able to do the installments, then it is what it is, because obviously that's why we can get this deal done nice and early, is because if we do it in installments, it doesn't affect us on a PSR perspective for this kind of financial year. But yeah, give us your thoughts on that in the comments. So keep my eye on it for you. Obviously, any news comes out, I'll bring it to you. But yeah, let me know what you think about that in the comments. Now, Alfredo Padula, who's been a little bit hit and miss recently, but at one point was a very, very credible kind of source of information, has said the following regarding Ederson. So new contacts are taking place for Ederson to Manchester United, but the £42 million proposal from last year will need to be improved. So that's really interesting, because we've had Romano saying that contacts, that we've started initial contacts with Ederson before. So I do think he is a player of interest. The recent reports, though, are saying that Atalanta want about £60 million. But interesting from Alfredo Padula saying that we bid for him, effectively saying that we bid for him last season and we offered £42 million, which was clearly obviously rejected from Atalanta, and that we'll need to improve that offer to get him this summer as well. So he does seem like he's a player, definitely a player of interest for the midfield. Whether we will have the funds though to go and get him, probably going to rely on player sales, because the belief is we've got the money for Cunha and Delap if those deals go through, and then getting other players in are going to rely on player sales as well. So it's kind of plausible, I think, as well. But again, what do we think of the price for that? Because the report, I think it was yesterday or the other day, was saying that it's going to be around £60 million. I think that's a little bit kind of probably above what we're prepared to pay for Ederson, especially if we bid £42 million last season. Maybe a deal somewhere in between. If they're wanting 60 odd and we're offering 42, you're going to do a deal around 50, aren't you? That's why the way I always kind of look at transfers as well, which, depends whether we're going to have the funds or how we get the funds to do that. We'll need to kind of wait and see as well. But I would be, that's not a bad start to the window. I don't think, if you could get, hypothetical, obviously it's all hypothetical. All these players can end up going different places, right? We don't know at this stage until they're confirmed on the bus, on the coach, or on the plane for pre-season, or holding up a United shirt. You just never can tell with transfers, so I don't want to get too giddy or ahead of myself. But Delap, Cunha and Ederson, I think, are three players that actually do improve the team as well. But give us your thoughts and feelings on that in the comments below. So one of the other players that we're heavily linked with recently has been Semenyo. Remember, there was news the other day that brought you regarding that United were, from Sky, saying that United were looking at one of Well, we're looking at Delap, Cunha, and one of either Semenyo or Mbumo. David Ornstein has massively linked us with Semenyo as well, saying that he is a player that Ruben Amorim really, really rates and really, really likes. Alex Crook has come out saying that Manchester United have held talks with Antoine Semenyo. So that's another one. Alex Crook's not the most credible source from TalkSport, though, as well. A little bit hit and miss. So I would want to see a lot more credibility personally regarding the Semenyo news. But we do know that he's another player of interest, like Ederson, is a player that we've been kind of linked with as well. I think it would be insane if we got Delap, Cunha, and Semenyo. That massively improves our forward line and gives us options for other areas as well, because Semenyo is one that can play in different kind of positions as well. Right 10, left 10, right wing back, left wing back potentially as well. So he does offer a little bit more versatility as well. The reports are believed that he's valued at around £60 million, that golden £60 million number that seems to be getting banded around and what players are kind of going for as well. So that would be insane if we could do that. That would, talk about improving the tack and improving, and backing the manager and going for players and rebuilding the squad and definitely rebuilding the attack. If you got Delap, Cunha, and Semenyo, I would be happy with that. Three Premier League proven players that have done that have played in the Premier League and got that Premier League experience as well. Good goal contributions amongst the three of them as well. Like, that would massively improve the attack, in my opinion, and we'd be a step in the right direction. Whether it will be good enough to get us in the top six with just those three, I think we would still need more additions. Like the goalkeeper, got news coming up on that in a second, which I'll bring to you next, or in a minute. But it does massively improve the attack as well. So I think to get Semenyo, it would rely on player sales. So we would need to probably sell, some players in order to get the money and the budget in to do that. But interesting profile. I'll keep an eye on it for you. I'd want to see a bit more credibility though than Alex Crook from TalkSport. So he's a hit and miss kind of journalist, not the most credible, but really interesting kind of. He is definitely a player of interest and one on the watch list, I would say, as a potential kind of option. But give us your thoughts on that in the comments below. Now, one of the areas that I do think we need to strengthen in the summer is the goalkeeper. Whether we've got the budget to do it, though, is the kind of question mark, because obviously we know the priority is the attack. That's what we're kind of focusing on. But there is an argument to say that we would need a new goalkeeper as well. But again, how much of a priority is that to Amorim and stuff, we don't know. But Manchester United goalkeeper Altay Bayindir hasn't done enough to push aside Andre Onana for the number one spot at Old Trafford. Onana's mixed performances have seen the Red Devils linked to a few stoppers, and this includes Lille's Lucas Chevalier. He graduated from the French club's academy and has been their first choice stopper over the last 3 seasons. Foot Meccano state the 23-year-old has been attracting interest from elsewhere, and the only name Manchester United and Paris Saint-Germain as interested parties. Now that's interesting. Now Foot Meccano got 4.4 million kind of followers, so I'm going to assume that they're a fairly decent source. I read this in a report via Sport Witness, suggesting that Manchester United and Paris Saint-Germain are the two names being linked or mentioned at the moment as possibly going in for Lucas Chevalier. I think he's a good goalkeeper, young, a more modern type goalkeeper as well. Good shot stopper, importantly. Don't know the kind of fee. I think there's been reports before saying that around 20 to 30 million pounds. So whether we're going to have the budget to do that might rely on sales. Obviously, there's reports that Onana, as the other day, has asked his agent to maybe get him a move to the Saudi Pro League. So this would be one to maybe kind of keep an eye on. He is on my list of players that we've been linked with. I think James Trafford, Chevalier, Lemens, and Savic, I would say, are the 4 kind of goalkeepers that are plausible, or that have got more heavily linked with us as well. They would be the kind of 4 in my opinion. But again, player of interest, been linked with them before. Give us your thoughts and feelings on that in the comments below. Now, let's go through the rest of the news. So Manchester United now officially recognise Tyler Fredrickson and Chido Iwobi as part of the first team squad. So that's interesting from Samuel Lucas, suggesting that actually, so Fredrickson and Obi are now considered first team players. They might still flick between and to get minutes in their legs, because it depends on how much game time they get. So to keep freshness and stuff, I would imagine they'll still flick between maybe the reserves and the first team as well. But that's interesting from Samuel Lucas to say that Amorim now considers Fredrickson and Chido Iwobi as part of the first team squad as well. And I think that's you know, Fredriksson's done really well in the couple of appearances that he's made. He's looked kind of, you know, cool, composed, and, you know, a little bit safe. But he's a young player making his first couple of appearances for United, playing at the back. He's not going to be, you know, that's all you're going to expect from them as well. And Chilwell's done fairly well in his performances as well. And obviously, we do know that we lack strikers. So that's probably a fair thing to do as well. So fair play to Ruben Amorim for, you know, effectively promoting Fredriksson and Obi into the first team, according to Samuel Lucas. But like I said, I do think they'll still play games in the reserves just to get minutes in their legs and keep them sharp and bits like that as well, if they're not getting too many minutes in the first team as well. But that's really kind of interesting. Give us your thoughts on that below. Now, Atletico Madrid are planning to hold talks with Manchester United over Antony. And that came from a Spanish outlet, fairly decent as well. Again, more links with Atletico Madrid and Antony. That's good for us, because if we get a bit of a bidding war for him, then, you know, the more teams involved, or the more teams that want to go for Antony, the better it is for us. And then another Spanish source have said that Juventus have also registered an interest in Antony. Juventus are interested in the Brazilian, although at this point it is considered that he is more of a priority for the likes of Betis, Villarreal, and Atletico. So again, more teams we have interested in Antony, the better, because if we can get a bit of a bidding war and actually flip a profit on Antony, that would be amazing. And fair play to him as well for turning his kind of career around as well, because it literally was down the toilet at United, and he's gone away, done really well, and is, you know, arguably, you know, one of the hottest kind of players around that's been linked with multiple teams as well, which is insane, isn't it, considering how bad he was for us. And fair play to him. He's obviously found his comfort and found his happiness and found the right kind of place for him as well. And yeah, fair play to Antony. It's just be good if we can make a bit of money on him, and the more teams we have interested, the better it is for us, because that obviously helps us with the transfer market. You know, that could be used money that's used to go towards Ederson, for example, linking it back to that story. And then the final story I've got for you is the 1958 group are to hold another anti-Glazer protest on Sunday the 25th of May, the day Manchester United play Aston Villa. So their Twitter or X tag is on the screen there if you want to go check them out and get involved. So more protests planned for, you know, the final game of the season against Aston Villa, anti-Glazer protest. It is 20 years this month since the Glazers took over. I'm massively excited by that. They've done an absolutely amazing job. We've paid them £1 billion for the privilege of owning Manchester United as well. What an outstanding achievement. I'm being very, very sarcastic there as well. I can't, you know, one of the worst moments in our history, I think, with the Glazers kind of buying us as well, because they've sucked £1 billion out of the club. They're still hanging around like cockroaches. And yeah, it's not good, is it? It's not good. But give us your thoughts on that in the comments below. Give us your thoughts on all the other topics discussed in today's video, because that's you all up to date with the latest Manchester United news and transfer news. Smash a like on the video on your way out. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. See you in the next one.